Hey guys, welcome back to Augie and Me. It's been a little while since I've read this, but I've definitely been trying to catch up. So we're on to a new chapter, or a new section I should call, and this one's called Pluto. Pluto. All right, here we go. Augie and Me. Contemporary observations are changing our understanding of planetary systems, and it is important that our nomenclature for objects reflect our current understanding. This applies in particular to the designation planets. The word planet originally described wanderers that were known only as moving lights in the sky. Recent discoveries led us to create a new definition which we can make using currently available scientific information. International Astronomical Union. Excerpt from Resolution B5. So I guess that's in reference to Pluto, which is no longer a planet. I guess there is no one to blame. We're leaving ground. Will things ever be the same? That's by Europe. The final countdown. Do you know that song? Do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do. The final countdown. It is such a mysterious place, the land of tears. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry from The Little Prince, and I'm sure I did not say that last name correctly. All right, so here's the first little chapter of the section called Pluto. Introductions. I was 2 days old the first time I met Augie Pullman. I don't remember the occasion myself, obviously, but my mom told me about it. She and Dad had just brought me home from the hospital for the first time, and Augie's parents had just brought him home from the hospital for the first time, too. But Augie was already 3 months old by then. He had to stay in the hospital because he needed some surgeries that would allow him to breathe and swallow. Breathing and swallowing are things most of us don't ever think about because we do them automatically. But they weren't automatic for Augie when he was born. My parents took me over to Augie's house so we could meet each other. Augie was hooked up to a lot of medical equipment in their living room. My mom picked me up and brought me face to face with Augie. August Matthew Pullman, she said, this is Christopher Angus Blake, your new oldest friend. And our parents applauded and toasted the happy occasion. My mom and Augie's mom, Isabel, became best friends before we were born. They met at the supermarket on Amsafort Avenue right after my parents moved to the neighborhood. Since both of them were having babies soon and they lived across the street from each other, Mom and Isabel decided to form a mother's group. A mother's group is when a bunch of moms hang out together and have playdates with other kids' moms. There were about 6 or 7 other moms in the mother's group at first. They hung out together a couple times before any of the babies were born. But after Augie was born, only 2 other moms stayed in the mother's group, Zachary's mom and Alex's mom. I don't know what happened to the other moms in the group. Those first couple of years, the 4 moms in the mother's group, along with us babies, hung out together almost every day. The moms would go jogging through the park with us in our strollers. They would take long walks along the riverfront with us in our baby slangs. They would have lunch at the Heights Lounge with us in our baby chairs. The only times Augie and his mom didn't hang out with the mother's group was when Augie was back in the hospital. He needed a lot of operations because, just like with breathing and swallowing, there were other things that didn't come automatically to him. For instance, he couldn't eat. He couldn't talk. He couldn't really even close his mouth all the way. These were things that the doctors had to operate on him so that he could do them. But even after the surgeries, Augie never really ate or talked or closed his mouth all the way like me and Zach and Alex did. Even after the surgeries, Augie was very different from us. What I love so far about this is that you're getting this whole nother perspective again, right? That this is Augie from when he was little. We really only know Augie. We know his story when he was born, but we only know Augie really from the age when he's in 5th grade. So this is an interesting perspective. I don't think I really understood how different Augie was from everyone else until I was 4 years old. It was wintertime, and Augie and I were wrapped in our parkas and scarves while we played outside in the playground. At one point, we climbed up the ladder to the ramp at the top of the jungle gym and waited in line to go down the tall slide. When we were almost next, the little girl in front of us got cold feet about going down the tall slide, so she turned around to let us pass. That's when she saw Augie. Her eyes opened really wide and her jaw dropped down, and she started screaming and crying hysterically. She was so upset she couldn't even climb down the ladder. Her mom had to climb up the ramp to get her. Then Augie started to cry because he knew the girl was crying because of him. He covered his face with his scarf so nobody could see him, and then his mom had to climb up the ramp to get him, too. I don't remember all the details, but I remember there was a big commotion. A little crowd had formed around the slide. People were whispering. I remember us leaving the playground very quickly. I remember seeing tears in Isabel's eyes as she carried Augie home. That was the first time I realized how different Augie was from the rest of us. It wasn't the last time, though. Like breathing and swallowing, crying comes automatically to most kids, too. How sad. Can you imagine only being 4 and someone treating you that way? That's so sad. Poor Augie. 7:08 a.m. I don't know why I was thinking about Augie this morning. It's been 3 years since we moved away, and I haven't even seen him since his bowling party in October. Maybe I'd had a dream about him. I don't know. But I was thinking about him when Mom came into my room a few minutes after I turned off my alarm clock. You awake, sweetie? She said softly. I pulled my pillow over my head as an answer. Time to wake up, Chris, she said cheerfully, opening the curtains of my window. Even under my pillow with my eyes closed, I could tell my room was way too bright now. Close the curtains, I mumbled. Looks like it's going to rain all day today, she sighed, not closing the curtains. Come on, you don't want to be late again today, and you have to take a shower this morning. I took a shower like 2 days ago. Exactly. Ugh, I groaned. Let's go, honey boy, she said, patting the top of my pillow. I pulled the pillow off my face. Okay, I yelled. I'm up. Are you happy? You're such a grump in the morning, she said, shaking her head. What happened to my sweet fourth grader from last year? Lisa, I answered. She hated when I called her by her first name. I thought she'd leave my room then, but she started picking some clothes off my floor and putting them in my hamper. Did something happen last night, by the way? I said, my eyes still closed. I heard you on the phone with Isabel when I was going to sleep last night. It sounded like something bad. She sat down on the edge of my bed. I rubbed my eyes awake. What? I said. Is it really bad? I think I had a dream about Augie last night. No, Augie's fine, she answered, scrunching up her face a bit. She pushed some of my hair out of my eyes. I was going to wait till later to... What? I interrupted. I'm afraid Daisy died last night, sweetie. What? I'm sorry, honey. Daisy! I covered my face with my hands. I'm sorry, sweetie. I know how much you love Daisy. Next chapter is called Darth Daisy. I remember the day Augie's dad brought Daisy home for the first time. Augie and I were playing trouble in his room when, all of a sudden, we heard high-pitched squealing coming from the front door. It was Via, Augie's big sister. We could also hear Isabel and Lourdes, my babysitter, talking excitedly, so we ran downstairs to see what the commotion was about. Nate, Augie's dad, was sitting on one of the kitchen chairs holding a squirming, crazy yellow dog in his lap. Via was kneeling down in front of the dog, trying to pet it, but the dog was kind of hyper and kept trying to lick her hand, which Via kept pulling away. A dog! Augie screamed excitedly, running over to his dad. I ran over too, but Lourdes grabbed me by the arm. Oh no, puppy, she said to me. She had just started babysitting me in those days, so I didn't know her very well. I remember she used to put baby powder in my sneakers, which I still do now because it reminds me of her. Isabel's hands were on the sides of her face. It was obvious that Nate had just come through the door. I can't believe you did this, Nate, she was saying over and over again. She was standing on the other side of the room next to Lourdes. Why can't I pet him? I asked Lourdes. Because Nate says 3 hours ago this dog lived on the street with a homeless man, she answered quickly. Is disgusting. She's not disgusting. She's beautiful, said Via, kissing the dog on the forehead. In my country, dogs stay outside, said Lourdes. He's so cute, Augie said. It's a she, Via said, quickly nudging Augie. Be careful, Augie, said Isabel. Don't let her lick you in the face. But the dog was already licking Augie all over the face. The vet said she's perfectly healthy, guys, Nate said to both Isabel and Lourdes. Nate, she was living on the street, Isabel answered quickly. Who knows what she's carrying? The vet gave her all her shots. Tick bath, checked her for worms, answered Nate. This puppy's got a clean bill of health. She's not a puppy, Nate, Isabel pointed out. That was true. The dog was definitely not a puppy. She wasn't little or soft and round like puppies usually are. She was skinny and pointy and wild-eyed, and she had this crazy long black tongue kind of pouring out the side of her mouth. And she wasn't a small dog either. She was the same size as my grandmother's Labradoodle. Okay, said Nate. Well, she's puppy-like. What kind of dog is she? Asked Augie. The vet thinks a yellow lab mix, answered Nate. Maybe some chow? More like pit bull, said Isabel. Did he at least tell you how old she is? Nate shrugged. Couldn't tell for sure, he answered. 2 or 3? Usually they judge from the teeth, but hers are in bad shape because, she's probably been eating junk food all her life. Garbage and dead rats, Lourdes said, like it was for sure. Oh, God, Isabel muttered, rubbing her hand over her face. Her breath does smell pretty bad, said Via, waving her hand in front of her nose. Isabel, said Nate, looking up at her. She was destined for us. Wait, you mean we're keeping her? Via said excitedly, her eyes opening up really wide. I thought we were just babysitting her until we could find her a home. I think we should be her home, said Nate. Really, Daddy? Cried Augie. Nate smiled and pointed his chin at Isabel. But it's up to Mommy, guys, he said. Are you kidding me, Nate? Cried Isabel as Via and Augie ran over to her and started pleading with her, putting their hands together like they were praying in church. Please, 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 please. They kept saying over and over again. Please, pretty please, 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 please. I can't believe you're doing this to me, Nate, said Isabel, shaking her head. Like our lives aren't complicated enough? Nate smiled and looked down at the dog, who was looking at him. Look at her, honey. She was starving and cold. The homeless guy offered to sell her to me for $10. What was I going to do, say no? Yes, said Lourdes. Very easy to do. It's good karma to save a dog's life, answered Nate. Don't do it, Isabel, said Lourdes. Dogs are dirty and smelly, and they have germs. And you know who will end up walking her all the time, picking up all the poo-poo? She pointed at Isabel. That's not true, Mommy, said Via. I promise I'll walk her every day. Me too, Mommy, said Augie. We'll take care of her completely, continued Via. We'll feed her, we'll do everything. Everything, added Augie. Please, 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 Mommy. Please, 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 Mommy, Via said at the same time. Isabel was rubbing her forehead with her fingers, like she had a headache. Finally, she looked at Nate and shrugged. I think this is crazy, but okay, fine. Really? Shrieked Via, hugging Isabel tightly. Thank you, Mommy. Thank you so much. I promise we'll take care of her. Thank you, Mommy, repeated Augie, hugging Isabel. Yay! Thank you, Isabel, said Nate, clapping the dog's 2 front paws together. Can I please pet her now? I said to Lourdes, pulling away from her grip before she could stop me again. I slid over between Augie and Via. Nate put the dog down on the rug then, and she literally turned over on her back so that we would all scratch her tummy. She closed her eyes like she was smiling, her long black tongue hanging from the side of her mouth onto the rug. That's exactly how I found her today, Nate pointed out. I've never seen a longer tongue in my life, said Isabel, crouching down next to us. She still hadn't pet the dog yet, though. She looks like the Tasmanian devil. I think she's beautiful, said Via. What's her name? What do you want to name her? Asked Nate. I think we should name her Daisy, answered Via without any hesitation at all. She's yellow like a daisy. That's a nice name, said Isabel, who started petting the dog. And again, she looks a little like a lion. We could call her Elsa. I know what you should name her, I said, nudging Augie. You should call her Darth Maul. That is the stupidest name in the world for a dog, Via answered, disgusted. I ignored her. Do you get it, Augie? Darth Maul? Get it? Because dogs maul? Ha ha ha, said Augie. That's so funny. Darth Maul? We're not calling her that, said Via snottily to the 2 of us. Hi, Darth Maul, Augie said to the dog, kissing her on her pig nose. We can call her Dorth for short. Via looked at Nate. Daddy, we're not calling her that. I think it's kind of a fun name, Nate answered, shrugging. Mommy, Via said angrily, turning to Isabel. I agree with Via, said Isabel. I don't think we should use the word maul for a dog, especially one that looks like this one. Then we'll just name her Darth, Augie insisted. That's idiotic, said Via. I think, since Mommy's letting us keep the dog, answered Nate, she should be the one who decides what to name her. Can we call her Daisy, Mommy? Asked Via. Can we call her Darth Maul? Asked Augie. Isabel gave Nate a look. You really are killing me, Nate. Nate laughed. And that was how they ended up calling her Darth Daisy. I think it's kind of funny how Nate keeps putting all the answers on Isabel, like he's putting her on the spot, and she is not appreciating it at all. All right, we will continue with the next chapter after this.